Alright, this video launches us into the last step, add the words. So in many great comics, the most important part is the words and the stories that are in the comic. This is why speech bubbles and the text in speech bubbles are very important. Some artists write scripts to figure out the dialogue that the characters are going to say before they draw their comic, so that they have a good idea of what they're going to do. An important thing to remember when you're drawing dialogue bubbles is that we are always going to read them left to right. A good pattern is the Z formation. You can draw your speech bubbles in many number of ways. If you're drawing your comic strip traditionally, which is what I'm sure almost all of you are doing, then you are going to write the words before you draw the speech bubble. And when I say traditionally, I mean just with pencil and paper instead of digitally.
I fixed it. In one of the boxes, I have a person. No, that's bad. Okay. I have a speech bubble. And I have a person. This is not a good example, so I'm going to make the speech bubble a little bigger. Then erase the inside so you can see the speech bubble more clearly. You see in this is an exaggeration of the truth, but this speech bubble is taking up way too much space on the thing. Also, if you have a person, this itty bitty speech bubble where like all these words are crammed in, like really crammed, that's no good. You also have all this white space, which is not super ideal. So, yeah, if you're writing by hand, always write the words first, and draw the speech bubble around it. Also, I would recommend writing in pencil to make sure you have enough space. So as for the type of speech bubbles are pretty conventional. They're almost always like this. Occasionally, you'll have like a person and just a couple of lines in the words, or even just a line in the word. I don't like when it's a robotic voice, sometimes it'll be like this box with this, or if it's a super angry voice, it will have like the spikes. Yeah. As for thought bubbles, that's a little different. So for thought bubbles, you have the cloud. I'm sure we've all heard of that one. Other times, it's like a speech bubble. There'll be like circles leading up to just another oval thing. Same, you can also have like little clouds leading up to an oval. I'm just showing you what I've seen. Other times I have seen a thought bubble be like a circle with like these lines around it. I'll do it again just so you have a good idea what it looks like. So that's another way you can do a thought bubble. It's not a super big bubble, whatever. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. So yeah, once again, don't overcrowd and don't make it too small. You want to make sure everything's readable. Now, as for the Z formation, here I've got two people talking to each other. So we will automatically read. Let me just quickly change the color. We will automatically read a comic strip in the Z in a Z. It's left to right, but it's I don't want to say different. So when you read a book, you'll go left to right and then straight down over here. It's different with comics. You'll go like this, except obviously there's a person where I just drew that speech bubble. So you'll read this first, and then you'll read this next, and this follows the Z, so it'll be here, and if there's one over here, you'll read this, or if there's one over here, you'll read this. That's just something to keep in mind. You don't have to overthink it because I'm sure you'll naturally just go there. And you can look at others and see how your eye follows. So that's basically what it means when you have a Z. I was told once that when you are drawing your speech bubbles, to have this little pointy thingy point at the mouth. Like that. You don't have to worry about that as long as it is clearly pointing to the person that's talking, because it will be a problem. You have two people talking, right? And for whatever reason, it's pointing in this kind of, I have no idea where I'm going direction. And then same for this. Nobody knows if this person is talking or if this person is talking, so just be careful about that. Make sure that there's clearly enough space for the speech bubble, because the speech bubble can crowd the area, but the area can crowd the speech bubble. Goes both ways. So yeah, make sure everything's readable and that you're consistent. That's all. It's basically all I've got on that topic.
Writing dialogue is important too. If you're writing with pencil or pen, you need to make sure that you're good handwriting so that you can make sure everyone can read what you are writing very well. People that are reading your comic for the story and not as much for the art, people typically read the comic for the story and not as much for the art. People enjoy the art, don't get me wrong, but a comic book audience mainly cares about the story that's being told. If they can't read the story in your speech bubbles, you will have a bit of a problem. If you're typing your words, you can consider some good fonts to use. There are many fun fonts like Comic Sans, but you can use whatever font you want. It's ultimately a creative choice. For my comic, we looked at different comic strips and chose what font that was close. You can choose whatever font, but make sure your font is readable or else you'll run into the same problem as poor handwriting.